Hey everybody, and welcome back to Let's Play Super Meat Boy. Today we're playing a little bit more of Super Meat World, the level portal for Super Meat Boy, and some levels called Paradise Lost. Now these were 20 levels that were originally created by a guy named Nova Salisco, and I apologize if, on the off chance you're watching, I pronounced your name wrong, but these were made back in February, back before the Super Meat World and level editor really came out. It was just using the kind of dev mode that was mistakenly or deliberately left in the Steam version of the game that allowed you to fiddle around with the level editing tools. So these finally got a canonical release, I guess you could say, with the update that had Super Meat World in it, and I'm glad it did, because these Brownie-only levels apparently are probably my favorite quote-unquote DLC that's been released for the game so far. In terms of challenge, I'd give it a 3 Meat Boys out of 5. It's got a kind of the perfect challenge level. Things are tough, but not exceedingly difficult. There are some heartbreaking deaths like the one you saw just there, where I got all the way to the top and then just, couldn't seal the deal. Story of my life. Anyway. So, yeah, these are mostly based around saws and just quick jumping puzzles, which is really my kind of forte, or my favorite puzzle when it comes to the game. I won't say my forte, because as you watch this, you'll grow to realize more and more that if there used to be a prevailing thinking that I was any good at this game, it should vanish over the course of these DLC videos. I've lost the vast majority of my skills, and maybe that's why I think these levels are the perfect difficulty, but, I can't deny that these are really well designed. One of the cool things about the Super Meat World update, and when the level editor actually releases, one of the things that will be even cooler, is that it's going to be really, really community-driven, so I'm not going to say you're going to become a celebrity if you create a lot of great levels, but there's certainly a lot of people that I would not have known otherwise that I've become familiar with because of their level designs in Super Meat Boy. Just off the top of my head, Rock Lee Smile is a pretty prevalent one, and he's going to have a chapter of DLC released soon, or a chapter of Super Meat World released soon. One of my buddies, Max, who I used to talk to on Steam all the time, I'm pretty sure he's got some stuff coming out soon. So yeah, once the level editor comes out, get making some good stuff, and if it's good enough, send me a link and I'll play it. I've got no qualms about that whatsoever. If it's exceptionally difficult, just don't expect me to ever put a video of it up, because it's going to be almost impossible for me to actually make one due to my limited skill set. This is probably one of the hardest levels in the pack right here, just because of this part right here. And in a weird way, it actually looks a lot harder than it is, but it was very difficult nonetheless. Now, some of the levels, if I have one complaint, and it's not really a complaint because it provides some relief, but if I did have one complaint, it's that there's a little bit of inconsistency in the difficulty. That might just be my skill set, though. So levels like the last one I found exceptionally difficult, but due to the powers of, computer editing, I actually looked like I was quite skilled at. But then there's levels like this one, which I beat on my first try without even really coming close to death. Again, not that that's a bad thing, because then you have levels like this, which you need some relief from once you actually beat. Any level with these goddamn heat-seeking missiles seems to take me like 5 times longer than any other obstacle in the game, except for those heat-seeking missiles that shoot out heat-seeking missiles when they land. And I'm really a big fan of levels like this, like Hall, where you pretty much just from the get-go have to run and time your jumps appropriately. And even though it might not look like it right now, this is something that I'm actually pretty good at in the game. There's another level that comes a little bit later in the Paradise Lost chapter called Grand Prix, which is one of my favorite levels that I've played in Meat Boy to date. You've got to be pretty much perfect when you do that level, otherwise you'll get nipped by the saw that's coming up behind you. These remind me of the Brownie boss fight in the Salt Factory in the real game, and that was probably my favorite boss fight in the entire game. Not only because it had some of the greatest music with Fast Track to Browntown. Coincidentally, the line that I use most often when I'm dirty talking. Maybe I'm gonna take you on the fast track to Browntown. What? Excuse me, officer, what seems to be the problem? Again, this is one of those levels that is actually pretty easy, and no mojo here, no computer magic. I just managed to get this on my first try through experience and skill alone. But it's kind of a good thing. It makes you feel like a good player, which I damn well should be, considering how many hours I've put into this game over the past 6 months. That level that we just passed there with the fire is actually, I think, unique. I don't remember a level with a color scheme like that in Super Meat Boy. So this is Grand Prix, again, one of my favorite levels in the game. And as I mentioned, you have to be pretty much perfect with your jumps in order to make it through here. This is not my best run at it, as I do almost get killed at the very end, but still pretty close. Now, I like Salt Joke because even though I die on this first jump here, it lets me show off something a little bit cool in that you don't really need to bounce off of those lock boxes on the right side in order to get that key. You can just do a wall jump. You know? In that way, Super Meat Boy is non-linear. It's got multiple ways to solve your puzzles. You know, actually, one of the things I like most about Super Meat Boy is that it's 100% linear. I like non-linear games too, but in a game like this, I think it works really well that, you know, you're pretty confident of what you have to do every single time. The hard part is not figuring something out, it's actually doing it. And, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Nova Soliscus, if he's watching this, but it seems like a lot of these levels were built for speed running. Pretty much the best tactic to use on a lot of these is just to go as fast as you can and time your jumps appropriately, which of course I guess is pretty much the best thing to do in Super Meat Boy as a whole, but these levels it feels particularly useful, or particularly desirable, let's put it that way. There's another relatively easy one that we just passed there. And you know, Stardust is pretty easy as well, but it's long enough that if you make a mistake, it can be a little bit frustrating to go back and then, you know, have to replay about 30 seconds of gameplay. Especially if you're prone to making stupid errors like I am, just missing the top of that jump. And, you know, a similar thing is going to happen here, another stupid mistake, just balk at the top of the jump and miss it, but then third time's a charm. Stardust is one of my favorite levels. I like these levels with the saws that kind of create a pattern that you have to walk in between. That's more of my style. I really don't like the missile stuff, but the saw is no problem. Finish that level and move on to the next. And this one is actually probably the longest level in the entire pack. Not the most difficult, at least on the outset. The thing that makes this one difficult is that there's a lot of obstacles that have a low percentage chance of killing you, but because there's so many of them and you have to traverse them so many times, there's actually a high percentage chance of your death. So you can see here, you've got to get these 2 keys on the outside to unlock those 2 keys in the middle, and then once you get those 2 keys in the middle, you have to come back for Bandage Girl at the very top. So the trick, I guess, is that you usually want to jump in between when the saws, or sorry, in between when the missiles are shooting horizontally and when they're shooting diagonally. So like right now is when I want to go. And then you're just going to bounce up here, and you know, this kind of betrays the difficulty that I had with this level, but so be it. And now we're already on Behemoth, the last level. And again, I'd like to reiterate as we watch this that this is one of my favorite packs, so definitely, obviously, it's free, so there's nothing to stop you from checking it out as long as you have the Steam version of Super Meat Boy. Yeah, this is probably my favorite so far, and I've played all of them at least a little bit, all the ones that released in Super Meat World. A couple of them are a little bit too tough, I think, but you know, you'll see videos of those eventually once my skills get up to cuff or up to standards. But this one feels perfect. If you're looking for a relatively easy but still, you know, somewhat challenging way to get back into Super Meat Boy after a 4-month hiatus, this would be a good place for you to start. And actually, this level is quite difficult for a couple of reasons, and one of them is those homing missiles, which piss me off to no end. And the other one is that you have to get that key at a certain point because there's saws that fire, and you don't want to be stranded in between those saws waiting for them because of the missile that comes after you. And also, the level's just long, so, you know, you have to be perfect for a greater stretch of time. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next Super Meat World video.